This is Michael Spedden, and welcome to Fowl Players Radio, your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. We feature interviews from musicians, actors, comics, dancers, authors, and much, much more, up-and-coming artists and beloved favorites. We've got it all, people on stage, backstage, out front, and behind the scenes. Sit back and relax. Let's have some fun.
This is Eric Surratt from Baumenkinder, and you're listening to Michael Spedden on Fowl Players Radio.
Hi, folks. This is Jay David, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here. Tonight, we had Kyle Ragan and John Amoriello of Old Man Jones out of Harford County, Fallston in Harford County, Maryland, coming on tonight to just tell some stories about, the band days, to talk about their new CD, their new album that's out, and the one that they're working on, and a lot of other things. I had a great time talking to these fellas. It turns out we know a lot of the same people from playing music all these years, and it was just a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it too. And where you can find, Old Man Jones and there's the studio, Kyle's studio, allthingsweatherly.com. I'm going to put all that information in the show notes so you can find it. So, folks, remember, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll be back right after these words with Old Man Jones.
Hi, this is Gina Alicia from Nightwind. You are listening to Fowl Players Radio with Michael Spedden.
This is Candace from A Day in Pompeii, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
And welcome back to Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here, and tonight we have Fallston, Maryland's very own Old Man Jones. John Amoriello and Kyle Ragan are here tonight. Just to tell us about the band. I met them a few weeks ago at a 97 Underground gig, and they were performing over at Mortzberger's Tavern, playing the same night where the Odd Even, another former guest of the show, was releasing their CD that night. So I like their stuff, had them on 97 Underground, and I'm bringing them here tonight for you to hear them and really kind of get to know the band a little bit here. So welcome, guys. Good to have you.
Good, thanks for having us, man. Yeah, really appreciate you having us.
Yeah. So you've got a few CDs out and everything. So when did this really start for you?
So 2021 is what we said, right? Beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
So John originally came to myself and Chris, who was on the prior 97 Underground interview. He had to jet for this portion, this podcast, but he and I have a business called Weatherly Productions where we run a production studio. We're sitting in it chatting to you right now. John originally came to us as a client. We knew him through playing out in the scene. He had an amazing, more metal-ish rock band, I guess. They had won Best Maryland Metal Band a few years prior to us meeting him, and so we knew him from around the scene. But that band ran its course, and he was looking to do a solo project, and came to us as a studio to produce it. He was like, I'm gonna need everything else. I'm just me, and I play guitar and sing, and I write songs. So my production partner Chris and I put the rest of the music around it to create what is the Old Man Jones Records, working with John and kind of letting his vision lead it. And
Kyle's being humble. He does all the bass tracks, all the and other guitars, and he sang on the last album. He wrote and sang "God Gasoline." If you listen to that song, that's him.
That's true.
That's his song. It's him singing.
So over the course of working with him, it turned into us just being part of Old Man Jones at that point. So Chris and I are officially part of the band and working with John and loving it. It's so much fun, and now it's become even more collaborative, where we're a little more input. So we're working on the third album right now, and it's going to be even another evolution from where we've been on the last two records.
Oh, wonderful!
No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Right. Now, where's your studio based?
Jarrettsville, Maryland.
Oh, Jarrettsville. Sure. Right out here in what they call Hazard County or whatever they call it.
Yeah, we're Harford County. Hardcore proud.
Yep. I think they call where I live Cecil, Tucky.
Yeah.
So we have Hazard County and Cecil, Tucky, great places to live, and so well that's great. You're continuing to work on another one, just getting all these songs out of your head and getting them recorded, huh?
Yeah, it's like you got a whole concert up there. It's just finding the time to put it, I would say paper, but it's not paper.
Yeah, to put it to hard drive.
Yeah, put it to hard drive.
John's a pretty prolific writer. I will say, John sends me new song ideas every week. Every week there's a new riff, a new hook, a new something he's working on. So there's no shortage of material to work on with John leading the way with the writing. It's just amazing.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, we were thinking of tossing around and calling our album Harco. Just calling it Harco. And then try to take it a step further. It's probably still are, and then having other musicians from Harford County be on the album. Put it there. Like we've had Brad Cox on. He actually took the lead vocals on one song, which ended up being really good. It's actually out there called Undone. We actually released that one.
It's out as a single.
Yeah. And then just gonna have other people on it just to stack it up with more Harford County talent.
Hey, why not represent it,
Hey, you're from Harford County, man. You should come in and put some track down.
Hey, that's one song I don't have to play bass on if you show up, man.
Hey, well, you know what? That's one thing, too, is that, well, I'm not really Harford County because I was from Baltimore County originally, and I kind of leapfrogged out to Cecil's what I did.
Grandfather of Cecil County in Harford County.
There we go. Yeah, I can. That's my flyover county, my drive-through county there. So I spent enough time there, believe me. But yeah, absolutely. And so, so which album is out? This is your second album that's currently out now, and the third one is the one you're working on, correct?
Yeah. We're about 5 songs deep.
About 5 songs deep into the album. Yeah.
Oh man, you're well on your way.
Yeah, we're doing it. I want to spend a little more time on this one, just to tweak everything. We've been doing layers lately, a lot of layers. and so usually you take some out, but I mean, we're just trying new things, and then even acoustic stuff. Like I was gonna make it half and half almost, but we're like maybe 3 or 4.
We'll see how it develops. I mean, I think there'll be an acoustic guitar buried into some songs that you might not even expect is there, just because it was where the song started.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're experimenting a little bit more with this record. You may even hear some orchestration. You may hear some B3 or keys or whatnot.
Forgot about that.
There's definitely going to be some new fun elements in this record. John's letting me play in the studio a little bit more.
Right.
I want to make a Zeppelin 3.
Hey, yeah.
Where it's all, you know what I mean? You got all kind of stuff going on that. So.
Right. Now you and I had been talking too, and we kind of came up playing, I guess around the same time, late 80s, early 90s.
Our first gig was 88.
Right. And that was right around the time I was coming up too. I think I was starting to play out like in 87. Anything of I did the school dances and stuff like that beforehand, or the youth centers where people would rather be playing Dodge or something than listening to you. But it's
hit with a ball.
Right, yeah, we're up there playing, and here come the red dodgeballs flying at you. I guess that's how you tell if they like you or not, huh?
There you go.
But we had talked about a number of the clubs around the Baltimore area that we had both known, like the Rage. I mean, you had mentioned playing there. How'd you like that place?
It was wild. Like I said, it was such a long time ago. I remember playing there twice. It was, like I said, it was odd. I want to say it was Wednesdays. I think it was Wednesdays they let new bands play. I think it was a Wednesday, but I could be wrong. I remember the parking sucked.
Where doesn't the parking suck in Baltimore? I mean, come on.
And then what just popped into my brain was the bank. You remember the bank?
I do remember it. I think I
their name eventually.
The bank maybe turned into the Rev. Would that have been it?
I don't know. The place was big though. It was a big stage and a big room. I used to play there all the time.
Yep.
And I remember. I'm trying to remember how long ago it was.
Yeah, I wasn't playing at the time the bank came out, but I do remember it. I went there, but I just wasn't playing at the time.
I remember my buddy saw Godsmack play there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd
Yep.
been neat.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you ever do Maxwell's or any place?
All the time, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like 3 times, I
Hmm.
think, in that one band. That was fun.
Yep. Now that was a storied place too. It's a shame it's a pool hall now,
I think it's
because
actually it's not even that. Isn't it like a golf course? Like an indoor golf
oh,
course?
you're right.
Yeah, I think it is.
Mhm.
Unless that's next to it. It was either Champions or it's now like a Dino Golf, like indoor blacklight golf course.
That's right. You're
Yeah.
right. It is, but that place years ago. That was a big Motown club. The
Really?
Temptations used to play there,
Wow.
and
Interesting.
the Supremes, the Four Tops. They all went through that club there.
Wow, my dad would have loved that.
Hmm. Yeah, I had an uncle. I can remember telling an uncle, my one uncle that told him I was playing at Maxwell's. He goes, "Oh man, I used to see the Temptations there back in the '60s."
Was it called Maxwell's? Same.
No, it was called. I think it was called Martinique back then.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yep.
That does sound familiar, actually.
Hmm.
That's
Yep.
neat.
And oh God, there were a lot of bands came through. I think Red Fox used to perform there too.
Really,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Like to
Yep.
see
Yeah.
that.
There's a lot of history around here. A lot of
Yeah.
entertainment. I'm finding out more and more of it as every episode of this show that I do.
Really?
Somebody's coming up with a story to tell me something I didn't already know. But yeah, I mean, there's a great heritage and a great history around here. You just got to know who to ask, I think. you know.
It's interesting not being originally from here,
That's right.
like learning about the music history here because it
Mhm.
is rich. It goes back a long way. I'm from Florida, Georgia line area, basically
Mhm.
Tallahassee, Florida. So our musical history goes back to Leonard Skinner, and that's about it, right?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
yeah, Doobie
Leonard
Brothers,
Sk-
whatnot, Allman Brothers down around that area and whatnot. But and when I was coming up, it was bands like Creed and Sister Hazel and stuff like that
Sure.
were out of that area.
Yep.
So
That's
I
a good
mean,
one too. I like that.
they're just
Yeah.
those kind of storied clubs didn't really exist down there.
Right. Well, was 38 special from that area too?
Yep,
Yeah.
38 Special was one of my early lead guitar players in one of my bands. He went to school with Derek Trucks, like they were the two guitar players at the school kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was very, very much steeped in that. My stepdad had been in music in that area for a long time. He was actually signed to the same label as Molly Hatchet at one point.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Those kind of bands. So that was what I grew up around, was that whole Southern rock conglomerate and gumbo that's down there.
Hmm.
That's why you like
It is part of why I love Old Man Jones. It's got, I can inject some Southern rock into it here and there. It's fun.
Oh, why not? Why not? I mean, the surviving members of those bands are still out there doing the best they can.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
still sounding great.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Warren Haynes played great until he dies. So
Mhm.
that-
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, the closest we had to a club like that down there was there was one club that Creed came up in that oddly the owner sold it to raise the capital for Creed to record their first record.
Oh wow.
A
Jeez.
manager and
Hmm.
launched them. Yeah, it was a place
Wow.
called Floyd's Music Store, and it was the place every band that was coming up started out on the circuit. And they got too big for those places, and then at the end of their career, they'd come back through. So like I saw Seven Mary 3 there, and then I saw Seven Mary 3 there 10 years later.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Those kind of things. It's that kind of club, but it was a lot of fun, and I got to play it. I opened for Flicker Stick there when they won VH1 Bands on the Run.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So that was, stuff like that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of full circle going on out there now too, because I just had LA Guns on the show. It's at the time of this recording, it would have been about 3 weeks ago, but now it's actually it was on my 97 Underground show, and they used to play a lot of clubs in the Baltimore area when they were coming up, and now that they're kind of farther on in their careers and everything, they're coming back and playing some of the same rooms that they played 35 years ago, and it's enjoyable. And I guess you probably noticed too, once you become a man of a certain age, there are pros and cons of going to concerts, kind of what we were talking about, you know?
Yeah, you reach a certain age, and as a performer and as going to shows, right?
Uh-huh.
There's logistics. You got to get a babysitter.
Oh, yeah.
There's, we got to get up for work the next day or whatever the case is. So, that same carefree attitude that we had in our 20s is just not there, right? But going to a well-purposed show that is something like that. I love intimate venues for bands that I've been a fan of for a long time. That's my favorite kind of show to go to.
I'll pay more money to see a band intimately than a stadium. Like I saw Jerry Cantrell at Fillmore a few weeks ago, and
oh sure,
front row is just amazing. You're that close in a small venue. Yeah. Seeing a guy that's going to probably be in the Hall of Fame,
Sure. Yeah, that is a good thing because but the one thing that I've noticed too, as we've all reached a certain age and we're going to these shows, a lot more of these shows have become seated shows.
Oh, yeah.
Even in clubs that don't normally have seats, because when you go to these shows, whether you drink or not, it's normally about a 2-day recovery from that. To get your back, and when you walk out of there, your ankles are about the size of watermelons, from standing around all that
your
time.
Hands are numb.
When guitar amps and bass amps are our age at 2 a.m. unloading from a venue, it's not so fun either.
Says the guy 98-pound amp.
Yeah, that giant bass amp I got over there.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Did you ever do the Paragon in College Park?
I did. It was
brutal.
A big room, right? Was it a big room or a small room? I might be thinking of the wrong one.
It was a big room, but I was kind of referring to the stairs.
God, I don't remember this. I'm trying to remember that. Didn't you play there? I thought we both had horror stories.
Mm-mm.
We played there one night, and it was going to be a good show. Then we found out why nobody was there because George Clinton and P-Funk was doing a free show on the other end of the skull.
Oh, yeah.
Funny kismet. I've opened for George Clinton.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Back in Florida, because he lived 10 minutes away.
Right.
Over from Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you saw a picture of George Clinton in the paper for smoking crack, it was in the Florida paper. It was in Tallahassee. It was my hometown paper. A lot.
A lot of that Florida man stuff, huh?
Very much so.
I got a funny story too. I'm a big Clutch fan, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands. And I went and saw them in Mastodon several years ago, and All Them Witches opened with that shit. They were a really good band.
Mm-hmm.
So after Mastodon got done playing, the drummer came up onto the mic and said kind of like what we're talking about. He goes, I just want to let you guys know that Baltimore has been in our hearts for years, since when we used to play Howl Daddies. And I'm like, wow, Mastodon playing Howl Daddies. I would love to see that show there.
Jeez, a whiz.
Show you never know. You get your break. You're going from Howl Daddies to Pier 6, playing the down. And that's a cool story. That's an inspirational story. You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. There was a lot of Howl Daddy. That was a small place. I can remember that place. Probably that was probably later 90s. I think that was around.
Probably mid.
Yeah, mid to later 90s. I think.
Mastodon first came out because they played there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when their first album came out. I'm trying to remember.
Right. Right.
I didn't know them back then. Let's put it that way. I didn't know who they were. I wish I did. But that was a neat story.
Yeah. Like another thing that you had mentioned too about when we were talking about, I think it was George Clinton. Yeah, I had some great stories about him. I had one of his managers on the show a couple of years ago. He's since passed away, but he also had managed like Alice Cooper, Guns N' Roses, and a number of other ones. And he really, there was never a dull moment with him. And I think the reason why it was P-Funk or Funkadelic
or Smoke or Members of Parliament is how it would get billed.
Right. But they used two different names because they actually released records on their albums on two different labels.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. it was interesting. I couldn't tell you exactly how they did it off the top of my head now, but it was interesting how they did that. You know?
So I will give you, if you'll indulge me a minute.
Sure. It's all about you, buddy.
The best George Clinton story I can ever tell anyone.
Okay.
So I told you I got to open for him that one time. That was a radio station gig. It was much as you're doing with 97 Underground. There was a radio station that had a Sunday night local show that we helped launch, and they were very loyal to us. And when they threw these big events, they would have us come on and open for folks and whatnot. So we got the opportunity to open for George Clinton. I met his keyboard player backstage, kind of talking with him quite a bit, and got to know him. And then he introduced me after the show to their engineer and recording engineer. I had a huge interest in recording, had just kind of started in that field back then. And I asked him if he was looking for interns at a studio. I would love to, just hang around and learn. He invited me down to the studio. And I went there with my girlfriend at the time, my now wife. She was sitting in the car in the parking lot. And I went in. He shows me this giant room full of the original master tapes and reels of everything they've ever recorded. And it was like, part of your intern is you'll be digitizing all these. And because that's when people were still having to do all of that. And we sat and shot bull crap for a little while. And then he kind of said, all right, well, if you want to intern here, just a couple things we got to do. You have to take a drug test, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, that's no problem whatsoever. And he goes, I don't think you understood me. And he goes, we're going to drug test you because we have to know you are on something to work here. Because we can't risk having anybody that isn't that's going to call the cops. Because I got fans rolling in here with trash cans full of mushrooms. Like it's... And I was like, good talk. Yeah, just shoot over the information in my email. I'll catch you later. I got to run. And I was like, I don't know how soon this place is getting raided, but I don't want to be here when it happens.
I know.
And I was out of there. But yeah, so that's my favorite George Clinton story.
You never told me that. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
I guess it wasn't going to get raided by somebody who didn't pass the drug test.
Exactly. So I was like, this might be one heck of an opportunity, but I'm out.
Oh man, that's a great story right there. I love it.
That's my one little. I got this close to having a really cool job.
Yeah. I mean,
I was like,
geez.
yeah, not down for that one.
Oh, that's amazing right there. That's amazing. Yep. So, the work that you're doing in the studio. I mean, of course, you have your band here. Old Man Jones records there. And do you have regular clientele?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you do have regular people coming in and doing sessions for this, that, and the other thing.
Yep, absolutely. We kind of the thing we specialize in is working with singer-songwriters that need the rest of the instrumentation because that's something we can provide. As well as the recording experience. But we've recorded full bands here. We record, singer-songwriter acoustic records. I'll do remote mixing and mastering for folks, all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
But as far as other local artists, there's a guy named Benny Clow. We just finished up a record for him last year.
Sure, yeah.
Made from Meteors, which are out of Frederick. We did their EP, their first EP that they did. Yeah, and just multiple other projects, lots of singles and things that we've done for individual, bands around the area. So.
Very cool, very cool. And what was the you have a website or of course the name of the studio we could tell people?
You can just go to allthingsweatherly.com.
All things. Is it WEATH? ERLY. Allthingsweatherly.com. Okay, I'll be sure to put that in the show notes too if anybody out there is looking for a studio to record in. And everything, you'll be able to find it right here, and if you're putting out stuff like the Old Man Jones material, I mean, I'm sure it's a great place, and you're doing a great job, obviously.
You can see it from the back. We're looking at the board as we're talking to you.
Right, yeah.
Fun toys because they're off camera here.
See a few guitars hanging up in the back.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Yeah.
They were
Yep.
they were nominated for Best Producers of the Year for Maryland Music Awards. They were
Yeah.
they were in that running last year. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yep. And we didn't mind losing out to Tony Corelli.
Yeah, Tony Corelli won it.
Tony's been at it in this area for a very, very long time.
Tony's
and he very
royalty
much
at this
deserves it.
point, right? I would say.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
happy to be mentioned in the same breath. So,
Mhm. Well, yeah, that's an honor, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony and his history with John Grant and the kind of titans of recording in the area, right? I mean, those guys recorded just about every notable Maryland band in the last 14 years or so that I've been up here.
Oh, yeah.
He was at the Grammys this year.
Yeah. Over the Grammy committee, like he's got his own microphone company.
Yeah.
Tony's amazing.
Yeah. I've had Invisible Sound on too. I've recorded there back in the late '80s and early '90s, and
Is that true? Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Invisible Sound Studios. Yeah, they're no longer around, but
No,
Yeah,
but
they closed up
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that.
roughly, yeah, right around that time. I know Dave Nachotsky, who I had. He was the I had him as the guest because I knew him from those days, and he's working at Stages Music in Timonium now.
Yeah, over there with Evan Kornblum, who's one of the
Yeah.
engineers over there. Yep.
Where was Drew Mazurek? What was his studio called?
I
That
couldn't
was
tell you
Drew
on that one.
Mazurek. You remember him? He's still doing it too. I think he might have moved up into like actual producing now. I don't remember. I don't know why I thought he was Invisible, but I don't think it was him.
Mm-hmm. Invisible Sound had they actually called their collection of amps like the North American Amplifier Museum or something. I mean, they had
They had a lot. I remember when they were selling off when the studio was closing, and they sold off a ton of stuff, and I was like salivating over some of the equipment that I could not afford at the time.
oh yeah.
Where were they at?
I'm trying to remember where Invisible Sound was actually
I can't
located.
remember,
It was located at first. It was located at one of the owners, Joe Rinaldo, at his house. It was on Mayfield Road or Mayfield Avenue in Hamilton. It was in their basement, and then they actually had a space at the old Crown Cork and Seal building.
Yep, that's where I knew it from. There.
Yep. And that was a good place to put a studio. I mean, if you got a lot of expensive stuff, you may as well make it like the beginning of Get Smart to get to, because you had to, it was like, all these obstacles and, all these hallways, and, you get lost finding it. You're walking around like Spinal Tap yelling, "Hello, Cleveland." Oh, no, this isn't it. It's
Yeah, well, we're a little easier because my studio, or our studio, is in my home. So it's a large section of my basement, shall we say, but it's purpose built for just doing this. When we moved in, I think I had a studio before I finished my bedroom.
Yeah, hey.
If I'm not, my wife will hate me saying that, but it's probably true.
You were sleeping in there too, right?
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, there's it's a cool thing to have. I mean, because you can just get into one thing and you end up going down all these rabbit holes and everything. You end up completely making something else. But when you got a lot of nice toys and everything, a lot of fun to work in there.
It is, and one of the luxuries I'm afforded with this space is pretty much everything stays mic'd up and ready to record at all times.
Yeah.
So like setups are short in here for most sessions because everything's run. I'm not setting up anything from scratch when people walk in the door.
Right.
And it allows creativity to just flow. Like, oh, you want to try something on keys? Sit down there. All right, and there you go. And they're off and running.
He's got the drums.
The drums are always mic'd. Everything's ready to go in here.
That's wonderful. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. And so you've got some good clientele doing great things out there, which is excellent. So allthingsweatherly.com, and again I'll put this link in the show notes. So when we post this and everything, people will be able to see it and they'll be able to find out all about you here. And yep. So you've been doing Zen West. That's a great room too.
It is.
By the way.
Remember
when it used to be called Gators?
No, it used to be called Gators.
Yeah, it was called Gators back in the 80s, and it was completely laid out different and everything. But that's a great place, really is.
AL Gators. It was AL Gators. That used to be old Network or something.
Yeah, that was the old Network, and then I think
Yeah.
it became Daytona's after that.
Daytona's, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I played there when it was Daytona's.
Yeah,
Right.
West has been a good venue to us.
Yeah.
Nick over at Rapola has been
Yeah.
kind enough to let us there many times.
Mhm.
And it's a fun room to play. And being right there in Towson, you get somewhat of a draw out of the college. It's close enough to a lot of people for them to get out. And yeah, their shows don't run too late there because it's
No.
also a restaurant venue, right?
Yeah,
So
Pody
Yeah.
was a great guy too.
yeah, I mean the owner's
Yeah.
been super supportive of local music, and we want to support that as much as we can.
Oh yeah, they always are. They always have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And then Morse Burgers again. They're very supportive too.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I really enjoyed playing
Yeah,
there.
I got to speak to the owners when we
Mhm.
were there, and I understand it had changed ownership fairly recently. And I think you and I talked to them at one point. But very nice people and very supportive of the scene. And I love the fact that they have the dedicated space in the back, and it's a true concert venue with a bar next door,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
perfect.
I think they had food too. Did they have no? Yeah, they had food.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to try it, but
No,
yes.
neither.
Mhm. Yeah, the food there is great. I mean, it really is. It really is a great place,
Hey,
all
if you're a
around.
musician, there's a music store
Yeah,
a block away. So
Mhm.
if you strings or something last second, it's the best venue on earth.
that's true.
Yep.
I went there. Remember I told you I went there to get strings, and I'm a lefty, and
Yeah.
they had a lefty ES 335. I said, wouldn't that be some shit if I come back? They didn't have strings, but look what I bought. $3,800. My wife's gonna kill me.
Mm. Mm. That's got to be a challenge sometimes too. I guess finding guitars and
It's a curse.
yeah.
How many guitars have I been through? I think I got my forever guitar at this point, but I mean,
Yeah,
I had
Mhm.
6. I'm down to 3.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't even want to begin to count.
Yeah, you can see
There's a couple there that you can see when it gets bad. The further you go, this
Oh yeah.
there's another 6 or so over here.
Mhm.
But yeah, being a lefty, you get stuff on the back end though.
Oh right.
Because it
Right.
sits. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I'll watch stuff on Reverb, and it generally if it's what did I get off of there? An SG. I got a SG standard, and what's this 8 years ago, so they're probably more money, but I end up getting it for like $900.
Hmm.
It sits. You know what I mean? It's not too many lefties, so you can kind of talk them into getting them for better pricing. But the downfall is I can't walk into a music store.
Oh right.
Very rarely.
Probably why I'm still married.
Especially, and another thing you never see is like left-handed double necks.
No.
And that is the curse of the lefty is you're going to get the bread and butter guitars. You're not going to get any of the funky, crazy things.
I
very
lucked
often.
out. You know that.
Well,
He
yeah.
went with me. Yeah, I can tell the story if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
We Atomic Music, shout out to them because they're awesome down there in
Down in
Beltsville. They had a left-handed / Victoria.
Oh.
Yeah, they're a little bit would you say higher end?
Yeah, it's
They're-
above a standard, not quite.
They're
a
basically
custom.
it's basically a 59 custom.
Oh, sure.
You know, and they had a lefty one, and I went down there and I said I gotta go see this thing, and I brought 4 guitars with me. And I'm like, I want to trade, and he's like, okay. So I gave him. I had a couple. What did I have? 2 studios,
A studio and a tribute, I thought.
a tribute, and then I had a Strat, but an older Strat,
Mhm.
like 93. And
Oh, and the Greco.
yeah, and I was gonna. Yeah, then I traded a Greco, an old Greco. Ended up walking away with some cash in my pocket and that guitar.
Hey, not bad. Not
it was,
bad,
it was
huh?
expensive, and I wanted it, so I took it. The best part of the story was when I told my wife, she was like, I didn't know you had that many guitars down there. And I'm like, you ain't got to worry about it now. There's only 2 down there.
Mhm. Right. I mean, I guess if worse, I guess you do have the option of calling the manufacturer to
I'd
get them
reach
too.
out, man. My God, I would love to own a Fender Telly with 2 double humbuckers in it, and they don't make it left-handed.
Right, right.
They just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You can reach out to a manufacturer in that case, but you're going to go through the custom shop. And
Yeah,
you're going to pay $4 to $5 grand for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tap into the college fund.
Right.
But yeah, there's not one I've seen that from Fender that makes that.
Or you could just do like Devo and just take a circular saw to a couple of Gibson basses and everything.
Right. Geez.
Oh, geez, I have a G3 the Grabber.
Oh, yeah.
And watching those early Devo videos, like their Saturday Night Live performances, their bass player was playing one of those, and he took a circular saw or something to it,
Jesus.
basically cut the entire body off, I guess, except for like the pick guard and the bridge area. You've seen that before, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
it's just a piece of wood with pickups on it at that point.
Really, yeah.
No body to it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're right about that, but it's the things people do. Perfectly good guitars. It's like, God, no! What are you doing?
Stickers on them now.
Yeah.
Don't put no stickers on that.
Nope.
Yeah. It's almost like you want to call if there was you see a child being abused, you want to call Child Protective Services, but there's no Guitar Protective Services out there.
The only time I would call Guitar Protective Services is when somebody's not playing theirs and it's just sitting. I do not like collected guitars.
That thought is money and they can't play.
Yeah, as long as they're trying, I'm happy.
Yeah, he's still playing on that guitar. No. And he's playing Sweet Home Alabama. No.
Yeah, get out there and make some art. That's the thing. And the thing is, it's like some people, I saw some things saying where people were saying they're not worried about being good or bad. They're worried about making good art, which, I mean, there are a lot of unorthodox players out there too that really, they may not be able to, shred like the best of them or anything like that, but they've put together some really cool songs and they've done good things kind of thinking outside the box too.
I would put Tom Morello in that category. I mean, Tom Morello does some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's pretty creative, and I've seen him unplug his guitar and beat it and plug it back in. So, they also make good music, so but I know it's some wild stuff out there.
You've got a drum and bass section like Rage.
Yeah,
you can do whatever you want on top of that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what Tony Iommi ended up doing when he had the tips of his fingers cut off. Ended up restringing his. I guess that was an old SG started with at first. I know he plays a lot of guitars that have the SG body, but they're made by different brands. But
yep,
his OG is SG. In fact,
the original was an SG.
Yeah, they just did a replica on that. It's like $8,000.
Yeah. But I think what he did was he replaced his strings with banjo strings. He ended up tuning it way down.
Really? I didn't know that.
So that was his. It was a unique sound, but I guess the way his fingers were and everything. He was that's what he had to do to be able to play. Did
he put like caps or something on his fingers?
He did.
He did.
Yeah. It was it was almost like a thimble or something. He actually had them custom made. So he does have like the tips on there now, but hey, just grab it and make some art, man.
Another good lefty, man. Another good lefty.
I've always said you don't have to be the best player. All you have to do is tell a unique story.
Exactly.
So
right.
Make art.
Man, you throw the other lefty in there, Hendrix. Playing it, he didn't even restring it for the longest time.
Right.
Right down.
Hey, I'm a bass player these days. We don't change strings.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think I've had my bass strings on my Gibson RD Artist since back then, and it's they've been on there for a while, I would say.
It's part of the nicety of being a bass player is you just don't need to change them. Those are the same strings that were on it when I bought it.
Yeah.
Use that little slidey, cleany stuff.
Yeah, well, you remember the band The Ravens from Baltimore?
Oh, yeah.
They had 2 left-handers in that band.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, their bass player and Lee Townsend and Keith Brewer were both left-handed.
How did I not notice that? I saw them when the Ravens. God, it was a long time ago. It was about 15 years ago. They did they played a Ravens game like a before party. They played in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Take notice of that. What's the lead singer's name? I'm blanking on it.
Rob Fahey.
Rob Fahey. Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah.
He used to
Great
play-
band.
Yeah. Raised on the. What was the one song they had? I liked it better than Raised on the Radio. If you say the name of it, I'll be like, yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Well, there was again, and the reason I started this podcast, 8 years ago or 7 years ago now, was to try to kind of capture that history and everything. And I've had a lot of those guys on here just telling me, about the different clubs, the clubs that they played, the circuit, the bands that they opened for coming through here and getting the opportunity to go play with national acts and everything. And just great stuff, if was thinking about maybe calling the Maryland Historical Society or something and seeing if they want anything to do with my recordings. Probably not, but
can't hurt.
Yeah, it can't hurt. So great. So
we talked about the zoo. I played there many a times, man, back in the Dundalk in the '90s. That was what was the band we used to play with? They were actually a cover band. Burn or Fuel. They were called Fuel. They had to change their name because of the band Fuel, and they switched it to Burn. Remember
yes.
that? Yeah.
I think a couple Lost Angels guys were in that band too.
Yeah, I know Sean Hughes was a drummer for a little bit.
Yeah.
Gray. He was a lefty. Gray. He
played
bass, and he didn't restring it either. He just left it upside down.
Right. Yeah, God, the Zoo. I remember it was called JD Saloon originally. Then they changed it to the Zoo.
PU.
Yep. But they did a lot of renovations. I mean, the Zoo, that was a nice looking club on the inside.
They knocked it down. It's not there anymore.
Well, they knocked it. Well, the thing is, did you see what they did to it after it was the Zoo? All that beautiful woodwork that they had in there. And a couple of idiots went in there with just black paint. They painted it all black, and it was called the Black Hole for a while.
Oh no, I don't remember that. I don't think I've been there for that.
It wasn't very long. It wasn't like that for very long. It went from, went from being the Zoo to the Black. I mean, they destroyed that place.
Wow. Yeah. No, I know the one girl, Charla, that worked there. She's at Dick's Halfway In. She runs that. I remember her and another girl was always there.
I played there one time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. There's Dick's Halfway In right there in Rosedale. And that used to be called something else too, and I just can't recall off the top of my head what it was.
The best name though.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yep. So well, guys, I really appreciate you coming and spending some time and telling some stories and everything tonight. Been great having you. Great to connect with you. The other week at the 97 Underground show, and so we did have the studio's name and website, of course, which will go into the show notes. allthingsweatherly.com. And tell us again where we can find Old Man Jones online.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's a decent page there, and
most importantly, all streaming platforms.
Yeah,
all streaming platforms, and then your merch. You had mentioned what was that?
oldmanjones.bigcartel.com.
.bigcartel.com.
It's like a free site where you should actually have your own website eventually, but they let you do merch and then sell it.
Sure. I've heard of that before. Actually, that's how I started out with this. It was foulplayersradio.buzzsprout.com, but then I had to pay a couple bucks, and I got my own name now, just foulplayersradio.com. So
I mean, it seems to be taking some more flight, so we probably got to look into all that stuff.
Right.
Wish it was the 80s again.
I know. Gosh. Knowing what I know now too,
we'd be talking. You had a tape player in your hand talking to us.
Yeah, I know. This would probably be in Rock's magazine instead of online too, right?
That's true.
Yep. So, well, great guys. Well, John and Kyle, I appreciate you coming on here tonight. Remember, Old Man Jones online, allthingsweatherly.com, oldmanjones.bigcartel.com, and check them out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So, again, guys, thanks for being with us tonight. And hopefully we'll see you around at some more shows. Come back anytime and let us know when you're playing. And when you get a new CD out, we want to hear about it. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all for listening. This is Fowl Players Radio, and we'll see you all next time. And folks, we hope you enjoyed our episode tonight, our interview with Old Man Jones. We had John Amoriello and Kyle Ragan with us tonight. Remember, you can find them on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You can find their merch at oldmanjones.bigcartel.com. And Kyle's Ragan studio, where this is recorded, as well as other projects that they have going on. allthingsweatherly.com, located in Harford County, Maryland. So, folks, we hope you enjoyed being with us tonight. And we will see you all next time. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button. And this is Michael Spedden signing off. See you later.